Listening to the 15th episode of the Armchair Army podcast. I have Shane Williams-Rhodes, the former Boise State Bronco, on the podcast today. It's already the 15th episode, but this one is very special because, of course, we have the first ever Boise State Bronco on the podcast. So we're going to talk to Shane about Good Eats, what it means to him, the brand that Dante Dion, Jay Ajayi have created, and also what he's doing within the community and his role at Channel 7, as well as some restaurants that you may have never heard of, but you would not want to miss in Boise. So without further ado, let's get this interview rolling. Let's get this episode started. Let's roll.
All right, I am so excited to bring onto the podcast former Boise State Bronco receiver, Shane Williams-Rhodes. Shane, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Just get right into this. Huge games coming up for the Boise State Broncos. What are your thoughts on how they've been doing this year, and what do you see them doing going forward?
It feels a lot like 2014 all over again to me. As much as I'd love to say we'll be in a Big Six game, I'm thinking we're going to Vegas.
You know, that doesn't sound too bad. Vegas sounds all right to me. Seeing how the first couple of games started off, it didn't seem like we would go too far or be in the big bowl, but it seems like Vegas is a win to us. But moving on from the Boise State Broncos, I guess I want to talk more about you and what you've been doing personally. I know you and Dante and a couple of other former Boise State Broncos started what's called the Good Eats. And it's a program, it's a company, and you've done a couple of camps around the area. Can you explain to me and to the listeners what the Good Eats has meant to you and what it is?
It's just kind of a brand that me and about a group of 10 guys from Boise State that I played with, we kind of just started it all together. It was kind of a word we used, like for good job. So whether it was getting a good grade on a test, or doing something good on the field. It was just kind of a word that we had. It was ours. We used it. So we decided to just run with it and turn it into a brand. And then guys can kind of branch off and do different things. Dante kind of takes it from the fashion end, and he's getting the clothing line ready and stuff like that. And me and Armand Nance taking it more from a personal training type end. And we branched off and started a little personal training deal out here in Idaho. Then we have guys like Rondell McNair who are looking to start little production things off of it and with his camera and video type stuff. So it's all just a way for us to all invest in the same brand and do our own thing.
Man, that's absolutely awesome, especially seeing you guys on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. I see the hashtag Good Eats all the time, and it's infectious. You almost want to be a part of it. And being a Boise State alumni, it's just so interesting to see you guys doing your own thing. And speaking of Dante and the group of you guys, what is your relationship with Dante Dion and Jay Ajayi, and how do you think that they're doing here in the last couple of games?
It's just the same as it always was. We got like a huge group chat of all of us. There's about 12 of us in it, and it's never a dull moment. Guys like Jay, Dante, Darian Thompson, Jeremy McNichols, tons of NFL guys, and it's never a dull moment with all those guys. Talking to those guys.
Absolutely. So you are transitioning into doing different things other than football here and moving on from your playing days. What has that transition been like, life after football?
For me, I feel like it's been pretty smooth. But I can definitely see mentally how it could kind of take toll on athletes just transitioning from that world into the real world. I was blessed enough to have, people who I met throughout college and networking enough to be able to get a job when I got out and just things like that. So, but I know not everyone is, so it can be tough just adjusting. And adulting totally sucks, even though I do.
Yeah, that adjustment is so huge, and people don't realize coming from playing that D1 sport and spending all that time in that sport, how difficult it is switching gears and shifting your mindset to something different. So that I definitely understand that. When you played, I mean, you were electric. They had gadget plays for you. It seemed like they had a whole playbook for you. And it reminds me a lot of C.T. Thomas and what he's meant to the Boise State Broncos this year. Do you have any relationships with the current Boise State wide receivers?
A few. Achillian Butler, A.J. Richardson, Cedric Wilson, and Sean Mobster, and I think the last one is Austin Cottrell. Oh, and Brock Barr. I think those are the guys that I know. A few of those are seniors, so it's getting even. That's how I know I'm getting old, because I don't think I'll know anybody on the team in about 2 years.
Is Harsin good in that way? Does he invite you guys to practice or anything like that? Does he invite the alumni back at all?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm kind of still always around because I kind of part-time work for Channel 7, so I do the Boise State pregame show, so I'm on the field every game doing the pregame show with Jay Tuss and Will Hall on Channel 7. So I'm kind of always around, so I feel like I'm still kind of there because I have a little connection there because I see the guys before every game, that type deal. But I'm not sure about how everyone else copes with leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially because you were part of the Coach Pearson era as well. So, and going back to your playing days, do you have the most memorable game that you seem to always, in the back of your head, remember when you think of your playing days?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I think the one that I always probably mean the most to me would probably be the Vegas Bowl as a freshman. We were down by 1 point, and I ran back a kickoff return to about the 30-yard line, and we kicked field goal and won the game.
Is there a favorite place that you like to play other than Boise when you're on the road, whether it's a bowl game or a conference game?
As much as I hate BYU, I love playing there.
Was it the city or was it the atmosphere?
It definitely wasn't the city. I think it has. I think it probably has a combination to do with it being grass and it always being a big game for us. But it always feels better beating those guys than it does everybody else.
Yeah, especially because they're such huge rivals. I mean, it's always nice to beat BYU, but I mean. We've talked about your playing days, your past playing days. What's next for Shane Williams-Rhodes? I know you got engaged and you're looking to get married here pretty soon. So what's next for Shane Williams-Rhodes? I know a lot of Boise State fans would like to know what Boise State players are doing now.
Well, I think I'm in corporate America now, so just kind of make a living for my family, and then on the flip side is continue to stay out in the community and do camps and stuff that guys in the area can get out to and just showcase their skills so they could, live out the dream that I got to live out of going to college and playing football and going to school for free and that type of stuff, and just giving back to the community that helped get me where I'm at today.
We definitely are thankful for you doing everything that you have in the community with not only with good eats, but just being on TV and being that good example in the community. Well, Shane, before we let you go, we have a special segment on the Armchair Army podcast we like to call Chair Drafts. And so we asked 3 different places, people, or anything that we choose. This is the topic, and we rank them in order here. So our topic this week is going to be best restaurants in Boise for our Chair Draft. So I'm going to let you have the first pick in the draft, your favorite place to eat in Boise.
Oh, that's easy. Are you paying?
Well, I feel like I know what's coming if you're asking that.
All right, what do you think my first one is then? Let's see.
Probably Ruth Chris, honestly.
Yeah,
we're going not paying.
We're going to Ruth if you're paying.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I knew that was coming. If I'm paying, it's definitely Ruth Chris.
That's it right there. That's my spot. I think I went there one time a week when I was in college.
Oh my goodness! You lucked out then, huh? Well, my first pick, I'm gonna actually go with 10 Barrel. I don't think you could beat the nachos there, quite honestly. The steak nachos, so good. But that is gonna be my first pick. What's your second pick?
Second pick, I'm gonna have to go with. It has to be a restaurant, or could it be a little hidden gem?
Whatever you like to eat at. Let's see here.
I'm going to have to roll with a little hole in the wall right by campus, Burger Belly. Every college student that goes to Boise State knows what Burger Belly is.
So underrated.
It's the go-to.
That's the go-to. That's definitely for sure. A Burger Belly, it's a blessing and a curse. It's right by my house, so I definitely understand. So my second pick in the draft, I'm actually going to go with the dark horse here. I'm going to go with Merritt. If you ever have their breakfast bowl, it's incredible. Right down State Street. You can't miss it. So that's my second pick. Your last pick in the draft, Shane, what do you got?
A lot of people might call me basic for this, but I literally think me and my fiance eat here at least once every 2 weeks. I'm going with the OG, Olive Garden.
Oh, you can't go wrong with Olive Garden, so I respect that. Well, if you're going Olive Garden and think you're basic, I'm actually from the Northwest, so we don't have this everywhere, so I feel like my friends back home would love me for saying this. I'm going with Chick-fil-A because it's not everywhere, so I'm going to go with Chick-fil-A for my third pick in the draft. But
I just had me some nuggets and a chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A 20 minutes ago.
Oh, so good. Now you're making me hungry. All right, Shane. Thank you so much for coming on, man, and spending time. I know a lot of people around town have been asking about you. You're working with Good Eats and you doing personal training around the community, so thank you very much for spending time with me.
No problem. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I just want to give a huge shout out to Shane Williams-Rhodes for coming on the podcast, talking some Boise State predictions, of course, going over the restaurants with us. So huge shout out to him for coming on, spending some time with us here at the Armchair Army. We love when Boise State guests come on and spend time with us. So we are actually going to move into some regional roundup here. We actually have a pretty simple regional roundup because it was rivalry week. Unfortunately, it didn't go as we wanted it to here at the Armchair Army. First off, the Apple Cup. Let's talk about it. WSU gets absolutely stomped. Luke Falk doesn't show up again. Mike Leach has a terrible offensive performance. The game plan just looks like it was not working the whole entire game. So really, really brutal game to watch the Apple Cup. I know I was watching it with a bunch of Cougs. Just the disappointment on everybody's faces the whole game. It wasn't even a good game at the beginning. So huge bummer for WSU and the Cougs as they had an opportunity to lock up the Pac-12 championship, Pac-12 North championship, and then go to the Pac-12 championship. But unfortunately now Stanford is going to be the Pac-12 North host, and they are going to play USC in the Pac-12 championship. But that will do it for Washington. Going to Oregon. Oregon beat Oregon State in the Civil War. Not a big surprise there as Oregon State's having a really down year, but big for Oregon as they're taking steps forward in their program. Going to Utah. Utah beat Colorado this weekend to be bowl eligible, which is huge for them. So shout out to the Utes for doing well, wrapping up a bowl eligibility game. They're 6-6 on the year, so not great, but I was really high on them at the beginning of the year. They went through some injuries, but kind of a bummer. But Idaho, they lost to New Mexico State this weekend, and they lost 17-10. They are now not bowl eligible. They played Georgia State this week as well, so Paul Petrino and the Vandals are trying to end on a good note there, but huge, I guess not huge, but it's been a really big bummer for the Vandals. They look to be pretty good coming off that Idaho Potato Bowl win last year, so it looked like they were trending upwards, and now it looks like they've reverted back to their normal selves, and this is the last year they're in FBS. They go to FCS next year in the Big Sky, so hopefully they have a little bit more talent to compete in that. And last but not least, we're going to touch on Boise State. I don't want to rant about Boise State, but it was honestly really, really pathetic watching the Broncos play this weekend. It was just, I felt like they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to show up. I know UCF wrapped up the New Year's Six Bowl eligibility basically early in the game. They didn't really have anything to play for, but that's just not Boise State football. Regardless of what you have to play for, it feels like they always have pride. They always play with confidence, and it just looked like we did not even want to be there. So kind of a bummer for the Broncos, but no matter what, they are going to the Mountain West Championship, and if they win that, they're going to Las Vegas Bowl. So not all lost on the Broncos, but kind of a bummer as Boise State just gets absolutely pile drive at Fresno State. So that is going to be it for the regional roundup here. I do have a little bit of chair talk as I want to put Alabama in the chair this week because I feel like they not only lost to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, and by the way, what a great game that was, and Stidham played so well, but not only did they lose here, I feel like they really, really screwed themselves because of the fact that now they don't go to an SEC title game, and then they're just sitting there with a terrible strength of schedule, and they scheduled Mercer the week before Auburn, and they have only themselves to blame as they keep scheduling these FCS schools and Mountain West schools to try to pad their schedule along with their SEC. So when the SEC has a down year like this year, where it's very top heavy with Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, and the rest of the teams in the league aren't very good, you have a situation where Alabama is struggling to get in the playoff because they do trip up against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. But so I'm actually putting them in the chair just for their scheduling. Scheduling Mercer is just so inexcusable for the Tide. I feel like they're better than that. Although I'm not an SEC homer, it just feels like Alabama should be that team that is always, I guess, I mean, they're up there with the best, so they should play the best and they should lead by example. And I feel like they didn't do that by playing Mercer. So I'm putting them in the chair this week, but that is going to be it for me. Shane Williams-Rhodes was absolutely awesome on this podcast. So if you didn't listen to the whole interview, go back, listen to it. I actually have another special announcement though. Not only do we have Shane Williams-Rhodes on this one, but we have ESPN's own Adam Amin next Tuesday. You're not going to want to miss this podcast. He called the WSU USC game when WSU beat number 5 USC, and he's going to talk about how cool it was to be in that atmosphere. He talks about Andy Grammer's song that WSU students know very well and what it was like hearing that. So WSU students, WSU fans, you're not going to want to miss next week's episode. He also talks about Boise State as he is in Boise almost every single home game, just covering the Broncos. So you are wanting to stick around for that, I promise. But thank you guys for listening. I really, really appreciate it. With over 550 downloads in a month and a half, it's been absolutely awesome to see everybody join in, chime in on the conversation. So that will be it for me. You guys have a great rest of your week.